Good evening, viewers. You're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. The big political story of the day. For the first time in 24 years, the grand old party has a non-Gandhi chief. Mallikarjun Kharge secured a landslide victory with over 7,000 votes against Shashi Tharoor. Shashi Tharoor had about 1,071 votes. Now, this election for who will be the Congress chief was nothing short of a full-fledged soap opera. But in the end, it is the veteran Mallikarjun Kharge, a Gandhi loyalist who the Congress chose. An indication that the party sticks to what it knows best. But will Kharge be able to change the grand old to the brand new? That's the big question we address this evening.
Gandhi loyalist and 80-year-old veteran Mallikarjun Kharge is the new Congress president. The grand old party has finally chosen its new chief after a poll process which was mocked as staged but can prove crucial for Congress revival.
आज जब डेमोक्रेसी खतरे में है, संविधान पर हमला बोला जा रहा है, कांग्रेस पार्टी ने राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल इलेक्शंस करवाकर देश की डेमोक्रेसी को मजबूत करने का एग्जाम्पल पेश किया है.
Congress's man of the moment is the first non-Gandhi party president in 24 years.
As per the Article 18D of the Constitution of Indian National Congress, I, Madhusudan Mistry, hereby declare Sri Mallikarjun Kharge elected as the President of Indian National Congress.
Kharge swept the party's high-stakes polls with over 90% votes. Celebrations erupted outside Kharge's house right after the news of him being the new chief broke out. Tharoor, who had made massive allegations of irregularities in the poll process, conceded defeat and wished Kharge.
आज निर्णय लिया कि मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे साहब हमारा नया अध्यक्ष होगा. मैं खबर सुन के उनके घर गए और उनको मेरी बधाई सुना दी.
Congress veterans, including Rajasthan CM Ashok Gehlot, whose loyalists had revolted to stop his elevation as Congress chief, hailed Kharge.
खड़गे साहब बहुत अनुभवी व्यक्तित्व के धनी हैं. 9 बार एमएलए, 2 बार लोकसभा मेंबर और अभी नेता प्रतिपक्ष हैं. आज सोनिया गांधी जी आई थी मैडम, अभी कितनी खुश थी वो, क्योंकि उन्होंने कहा मुझे इसी दिन का इंतजार था नए अध्यक्ष कब बने. तो आप सोच सकती हो कि हम सब बहुत खुश हैं.
It's a great responsibility and a great privilege for the family. It's not every day that you get to be the president of the oldest party in India that got us the freedom and that has built India and that has created this idea of India for the entire world. So it's a great honor and privilege for the family as well.
He hails from a very poor background, from a very simple family, a Dalit family, and today he's reached the pinnacle in the Congress party, an historic position of the Congress party president. I think with his leadership, I'm sure that there'll be good days ahead for the party.
And from the middle class.
While Rahul Gandhi said he will report to the new president now, many Congress netas said only Rahul Gandhi will remain the face of the party.
Will you be reporting to the new president?
Obviously, the Congress president is the supreme authority in the Congress party. And every Congress member reports to that person.
Can Kharge shed the loyalist tag and revive Congress fortunes to take on BJP's formidable poll machinery? With Supriya Bharadwaj and Mausami Singh in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, so viewers, I was there at the Congress office today. At least the cadre seems to believe that there's something new that's going to happen. What do the political analysts say? Is this going to be a status quoist warming up the seat, the top seat of the Congress, or is he going to maybe shake up things a little? Let's bring in our guest this evening. Joining me in the studio, consulting editor Rajdeep Sardesai, who's seen many seasons of the Congress, Tom Wadekar, who used to be with the Congress, right now with the Bharatiya Janata Party, knows Mr. Kharge very well, Mr. Wadekar, and also Adil Singh Bokparoy, spokesperson Congress. Rajdeep, let me begin with you. What do you see this as? Because, you know, till the run-up to the elections, we talked very often on what Mr. Tharoor said on the day of his nomination, that if you want to vote for change, vote for him. If you want things to remain the same, vote for Mr. Kharge. Do you see this as status quoist existing, or do you think things will change?
I see it as the way the Congress party is. Structurally, this is a Congress party which is risk averse, right from the top to the bottom, with the slight exception, ironically, of Rahul Gandhi, who has shown from time to time a willingness to sort of try and experiment. If you remember, even when he was Youth Congress leader, he spoke of democratizing the Congress, spoke of having primaries in the Congress to elect candidates. I think Rahul Gandhi's push has resulted in this moment in a strange sort of way. Left to Sonia Gandhi in particular, she would have been even more status quo. Look, the outcome, Preeti, was known from the start. The moment Mallikarjun Kharge was backed by a range of Congress leaders, including those from the so-called G23. I think what is interesting is that Mr. Tharoor tried in a way to, build brand Tharoor, along with sort of trying to reach out to while reaching out to various state units. So gave the perception that he was in an election. It is very clear that the outcome was known, but I think we have to value the fact at least that a stab was made at creating some kind of a perception that this is not a party of the Gandhis alone. You know, my belief is, left to Rahul Gandhi, he would have opened it up even further. I think Sonia Gandhi is much more wary after the experiments of the 1990s with the likes of Sitaram Kesri. She is much more diffident and unwilling to fully open up the Congress to new leaders, to sort of virtually push the Gandhi family in a way into the background. She would prefer a situation where whoever is in charge, in this case Mr. Kharge, is her trusted loyalist. So the loyalists in that sense, you could argue.
But, you know, I could also argue otherwise, Rajdeep. Let's go back to 97. Sonia Gandhi picked Mr. Sitaram Kesri in 1997. He was facing off with the likes of Mr. Rajesh Pilot, with the likes of Sharad Pawar. But
she didn't pick him. She didn't pick him in a way.
But
yeah, you see, it was the perception was created that Sitaram Kesri was someone who would be preferred by Sonia Gandhi in comparison to a Sharad Pawar and a Rajesh Pilot. But let's be clear, Preeti, Sharad Pawar and Rajesh Pilot were far more formidable leaders at the time, particularly Mr. Pawar compared to a Shashi Tharoor. And yet Mr. Tharoor has got almost the same number of votes, 12% of the votes that Mr. Pawar got. And yet it was very clear that in this party, whoever controls the center, controls the party delegates, controls the state units. That's the structure. As I said, the problem is, you want inner party democracy, but you're only willing to have a short stab.
You know, Rajdeep, you're going to change your mic. There's something going on with your mic. We're going to try and correct your audio. But I'm going to cut across to our other guest because, all right, so you have Mr. Kharge in the top seat, but Adil Singh Bokparoy, I'll bring you in on this. Now, the Congress says this is going to be, or this is the new change which is being ushered in with the likes of Mr. Kharge coming in. Let's go back. You've had this one election. But there are other elections which, at least when the Gandhis were there in the top helm of affairs, they never held. The CWC, are we going to see all of that change? Will you actually go ahead and hold elections for something like the CWC as well?
Preeti, it's a joyous occasion for us in the Congress party. We are the only political party in this country which has an institutional framework for democracy, which has an institutional framework to elect the president of our political party. I think this is a first, and I sincerely believe that the Congress party must be complimented for its internal robustness. Point number one. Point number two, Preeti, we can never answer perennial naysayers. There will always be perennial naysayers. But the fact of the matter is that this process, and both are very strong leaders, Mr. Kharge as well as Tharoor Sahab are very strong leaders, and this process has enriched the Congress party.
But Adil, you talk about, you know, the robustness of internal party democracy. This afternoon, Mr. Tharoor's team wrote a letter which pretty much indicted the Congress for acute malpractice, especially in voting in the state of Uttar Pradesh. And you know your electoral college, a huge chunk or a majority of the chunk of votes actually come in from a state like Uttar Pradesh.
Well, Preeti, I haven't read that letter, but I will go by what Mr. Tharoor has said. And Mr. Tharoor is on record to say that we have been further enriched by this process, and in the sense, he doesn't have any grievance with anybody. Whether anybody has made a complaint or not, that is for the CEC to decide. But like I said, there will be perennial naysayers. In any system, in any party, in any organization, there will be some people who may have certain concerns. But the fact of the matter is, there were two candidates, two formidable candidates who entered the ground, and both of them are on record to say that this has strengthened our party. And Mr. Kharge has vast
But are there,
experience
you say two formidable candidates. When you actually look at the results, it looks far from formidable. It's an acute washout. But I'll come back to you. I'll bring in our BJP spokesperson, Mr. Tom Vadakan. Mr. Vadakan, you worked with Mr. Kharge very closely. Do you think he's going to bring about change, or he's going to pretty much do the bidding of the Gandhis?
Well, Preeti, our Prime Minister has congratulated Mr. Kharge. Kharge is a senior leader, and he brings with him experience, and if the Congress desires that he be the leader, who are we in the ruling party to say something? Mr. Tharoor has said something. We are not on issues concerning that. Whether there was rigging or whether there was a final decision taken, that's not our issue today. We want a strong opposition party, and we hope and pray that under the leadership of Kharge, things look better for this party. And while wishing them well at this juncture, there are roadblocks down the line. It is a challenge, yes. They have a problem in Rajasthan. There are elections glaring in Himachal Pradesh, Gujarat, and what have you. And you have asked a very pertinent question, which Adil did not go into, but the Congress Working Committee going to be elected thereon. Be whatever issue, this is all internal for them. So we do not want to indulge at this juncture. As Adil said, it's a joyous occasion. I wish him best. I wish that party well. And let us see how
Mr. Vadakan, that's quite
Kharge
gracious of you. You know, you worked with him. It's somebody who's come from the party, so that's very gracious of you to say what you're saying. But as I bring in Rajdeep again, I'd ask you the question which the Congress is asking you today, because there are a lot of other spokespersons who are raising question. What they're saying, sir, and it's plausible, at least we are having an election.
Oh, well, is that question to me?
Yes, sir, to you.
I would like to draw attention to the fact that some of these stalwarts needs to read the BJP's constitution. Under Article 19 of our constitution, we have a national council and a state council. So members elected, if there is a person recommended by the due process from the state council, 5 states, then automatically that person becomes a candidate, and their process follows.
Right.
Problem here is they don't care to read our constitution and the process that follows. Now I'll tell you, there was Mr. Radha Mohan Singh, who was the electoral officer for Naddaji, and there was a nomination of Naddaji by the state council, 5 states, and then when there is nobody else contesting that election, we do not need to showcase somebody contesting or not contesting. We believe Mr. Nadda comes from a village, no baggage, no nothing.
Sir,
no
Mr.
family,
Kharge, I would
dynasty.
think Mr. Kharge, if you're going to go down to antecedents, Mr. Kharge could possibly give Mr. Nadda a big fight of his life. From where Mr. Kharge comes from, the son of a mill owner, Rajdeep's also shaking his head, but I'll bring Rajdeep in. Rajdeep, you know, you're shaking your head on what Mr. Vadakan says, but I'll ask you another question and you can lead on with what you want to say. And that is, what would be the true test of the pudding? Will we actually see changes in PCC chiefs? Will we actually see general secretaries change? Will we see an election of the CWC?
Very good points, Preeti. Let me start with first saying, you know, Mr. Kharge is a compelling life story. You know, we keep talking at the moment, the Prime Minister does, Namdar versus Kamdar, that, you know, I am a chaiwala's son, I was a tea, my father sold tea at the station. Kharge's father was a mill worker. Mother died at the age of 6. Kharge was among the first in his family to go to college. Dalit from Gulbarga, set up the mill workers union in Gulbarga, came from the block level. So let's, you know, it's very easy today for us to look at him and caricature him as an 80-year-old who perhaps is not the right person to revive the Congress. Possibly true. But he has a compelling life story to tell. And he is in that sense truly a Kamdar. You know, if Tom Vadakan is going to make the analogy of Namdar versus Kamdar, Kharge certainly is a Kamdar who has come the hard way in life, been in politics for 60 years. You know, 1969 is when he was a block level president. You asked about, I think you asked the critical question now. It is one thing to make someone a Congress president. Let's assume that he has been selected almost, he is the unofficial, official candidate. We can use all those terms at the moment. He certainly enjoyed the backing of a substantial section within the Congress leadership at the center. Now the challenge is he ready to now push for open Congress working committee elections, as the Udaipur declaration of the party said? Is he ready that to ensure that at all levels 50% of the candidates will be under the age of 50, as the Udaipur declaration said? Is he going to really revamp the general secretaries and the state unit chiefs to ensure accountability? I mean, I think these are all the questions that will come. Mr. Kharge, if he can do even half of what the Udaipur declaration did, will be an agent of change. If he doesn't, then as all of us suspect, all he is a status quo, is doing a holding job till Rahul Gandhi really decides what next. The elephant in the room remains Rahul Gandhi. Until Rahul Gandhi decides what next for him, Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge will be, in a sense, doing a holding job rather than taking full control.
Well, Mr. Rahul Gandhi today in a press conference in Andhra Pradesh said, my position, ask Kharge ji, he'll decide what my position is right now. So that's at least the public perception of it all. But Adil, I'll bring you in. What Rahul Gandhi comes off, or what comes off Rahul Gandhi is a question that we're going to keep touching upon. But what about the likes of you who are in the Congress? Having Mr. Kharge in, at one level, when we talk about him being a mass leader, yes, he's come from nothing, yes. But why is it that the most talked about, badge of honor for Mr. Kharge is none of this but being dyed in wool as a Gandhi loyalist, a true Gandhi loyalist? That's a crying shame. And what comes off of the likes of you? Would you be disappointed if tomorrow there are no elections which take place in the PCC chief, general secretaries remain the same, CWC elections don't happen? You've been with the Congress for a while, you're young, you want to move ahead.
Well, Preeti, even I'm a dyed-in-the-wool congressman, so therefore that is not a disqualification. The Gandhi family has made immense contribution to the Congress party and to this country. They are our leaders and they will continue to guide us. And the Congress president, in consultation with all senior leaders, I reiterate and underline, in consultation with all senior leaders, will take the best decision in the interest of the party. So I don't see that as a disqualification. But, like you said, the proof of the pudding, of course, lies in the eating. And we will have to demonstrate. We will have to demonstrate the role we play as an opposition party. And today, Preeti, the role is cut out. There are challenges facing this country, whether it's on the economic front, whether it is on the front of social divisiveness, whether it is foreign policy. And therefore, we will come up with a coherent policy to challenge the government and seek accountability. But having said all this, Preeti, and this is something which I think nobody can dispute, of course, perennial naysayers and those who are in the business of criticizing the Congress party, I won't like to go down that path.
All right, Adil, I'm going to bring in Tom Vadakan and Rajdeep Sardesai for a quick word in, but I'm going to ask you this one question which many in this country are asking, who follow the Congress very closely, who actually want a cohesive, strong opposition. And it's not being ageist. I'm not making an ageist jibe, but somebody who's over the age of 80, his best political years, would you say are ahead of him or behind him?
Should I tell you something?
Yes.
I come from Punjab. And let me share an anecdote with you. Punjab had a chief minister, Prakash Singh Badal. He was about 89, 90. He used to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Adil, do you know what they say in Punjab about Prakash Singh Badal and who ran the government? There's a Punjabi colloquial term. Adil, you know that better. And you're smiling, so you know that better who ran the government. So Sukhbir Singh Badal ran that government.
Hear me out.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
The point is, today the country needs the right blend of experience and youth. You need that right blend. You need wisdom which comes from age. You need robustness. You need zeal which comes from age. You need experience which comes from all these factors. And therefore, we have our role cut out. And it will be a consultative process. Mr. Kharge has really risen through.
All right, last quick two takes. I'm running out of time, Adil. I want to take quick two takes from Tom Vadakan and Rajdeep Sardesai. Tom Vadakan, what happens to somebody like Mr. Tharoor? You come from the same state. You've seen anybody who stands up against, the chosen one is usually relegated to the bottom of the barrel. Do you see him going up? Because for somebody like Tharoor, the fact that he's, given himself that kind of pedestal, is it a positive or a negative?
I'll take a quote from Rajdeep where he said he's created a brand for himself. Yes, he's done that. Now, whether this brand is marketable, whether the Congress party will use him, or whether somebody else or he himself will brand him further, are issues which I think future will decide. But Preeti, I want to conclude on one thing. I have seen a very miserable sight when Manmohan Singh government was going on. There was a very senior IAS officer who carried file from Manmohan Singh's office, PMO, to Tenjanpat for the attention. I hope such things don't happen in future. And I wish Mr. Kharge all the best. It's a challenging task, and I'm sure he will not be rushing all files to Tenjanpat. He will take independent decisions, and we'll be happy to watch him progress.
Mr. Vadakan, that's very gracious of you. You know, unlike a party spokesperson of the ruling party right now, especially in the current context.
To say it is factually incorrect.
Okay. Adil, right now give him the benefit. He's saying he wishes you the best.
I don't want to enter into a duel, but his statement is factually incorrect.
He was with the Congress then as well. He was an insider. He's allowed his point of view. Let him make it. But Rajdeep, I want you to conclude what happens with Mr. Tharoor right now.
What happens with Mr. Tharoor? Mr. Tharoor goes back to delivering public speeches. He goes back to writing his
within the party fold?
He goes back to writing his next book. Do I see him staying within the party fold? Yes. For now, yes. The fact is he comes from a state like Kerala, where, you know, the battle is left versus the Congress. He is someone who, at least in his public statement, if you see, while conceding defeat, has made it very clear that he will stay to strengthen the Congress. He will be a good example for what you asked. Will Shashi Tharoor be brought into the Congress Working Committee? He has not been in the Congress Working Committee. He's a 3-time MP from Thiruvananthapuram. You've chosen people like even the RPN Singhs who left you were in the Congress Working Committee, but Shashi Tharoor was not. And therefore you will ask the question.
Ambika Soni, the likes of Ambika Soni.
So Ambika Soni's been there, you know, she will, you see, in the Congress they give a lot of weightage to hair, grey hair. If you have grey hair, woman, man, the long years that you spend in the Congress at the age of 66, you are still young. Mr. Tharoor is only 66. So in a sense, the real test will be, now that he has got more than 1,000 votes from the delegates, 12%, will you at least make space for him in a free and fair Congress Working Committee election? You know, I saw an election in Tirupati when Narasimha Rao was the president. Tom might remember that. That election was free and fair. Eventually, because Mr. Rao didn't like a few candidates, they decided we are annulling the election and they did a nomination, typical Congress style. But the possibilities exist. If Rahul Gandhi, as he tells us, is truly committed to democratizing the Congress, he must ensure a free and fair Congress Working Committee election where everyone can contest with absolutely no sense that one candidate or the other is favored by the Congress Working Committee, by the Congress leadership, because the perception this time certainly was that Mr. Kharge enjoyed the blessings, particularly of Sonia Gandhi.
All right, so we're going to end on that note. Was it a free or fair election? We leave it for our viewers to decide. But it is Mr. Kharge who's in the top seat of the Congress. Will he remain a status quoist, or will he shake up things? The true genesis of why this election was held in the first place. We'll keep a keen eye. Thank you. Adil Singh Boparoy of the Congress, Tom Vadakan, Rajdeep Sardesai.